it's Ron and Maria, back with another edition of Ask Ron. So our first question is from Phil from Ohio.
Phil from Ohio, okay.
Phil says, if you're lease optioning a house and a prospective tenant buyer has significant cash to put down, but has a history of evictions, would you still lease the house to him?
Phil, that depends on how much is significant, what that means actually. And I would certainly want an explanation of why they have a history of evictions. And maybe I can believe them, and if I can believe them, I'd probably let them in. But the truth is, if they got enough money down, I'm going to look very hard to overlook that, because the difference between being evicted as a tenant is totally different than being evicted as a tenant buyer who's giving you, say, $20,000 non-refundable option deposit. They have a lot to lose if they get evicted from that house, because they will forfeit that deposit. I would be probably more inclined to make sure that the attorney goes over this non-refundable part and gets it signed off on in blood and so forth, to make sure there's no possible way they didn't understand that they don't get their money back. But that's going to come down to a personal choice on your part after you get their information. Now, the good news or the bad news, whichever way you want to look at it, is that with that kind of a history, their chances of actually going down to the bank and buying are very slim. So that might be good news, because maybe you don't want to cash out of the house, but if you do, that's probably not the tenant buyer you want to put in. Okay?
Okay, and our next question comes from Scott from Michigan.
Hey, Scott from Michigan.
When negotiating to pay my seller's monthly payment with a lease purchase, which is currently owner-occupied, shouldn't I remind him that when he moves that his homestead will drop and taxes will increase?
No, that's not your obligation to remind him of that, because I'm guessing your rent payment to the seller is going to adjust when his payment goes up anyway. And if that's not your understanding, I can assure you, he's gonna have heartburn over that in the future if it doesn't. So in that case, it doesn't matter. There's nothing he can do about it, nothing you can do about it. But, well, actually, the taxes probably won't go up anyway, because he's not selling the house, he's only renting the house. So there's no reason to trigger a tax increase next year if title doesn't transfer. The fact that he moved out of it does not change the real estate tax status of it.
Okay, and our next question is from Adrian from Georgia.
Adrian?
I found a $1 million property that has been on Zillow and Trulia for about 8 years.
8 years? Holy moly. Okay.
It was also more recently listed on Realtor and Estately about 1 year ago. I think I could get terms, rent it out to multiple families, and collect a positive cash flow per month, plus any non-refundable down payments I can get. My question is, if the seller has it listed on multiple sites, and I guess that means multiple agents, then is this house really a FSBO?
Well, if the seller has it listed, it's a FSBO. The fact that they've got multiple agents involved in it cannot be listed but more than one agent. One agent's all that can ever have a listing. So I'm going to guess that the house is not even listed. They're just soliciting the aid of agents who he'll pay a commission to if they come in and bring a buyer. So I'm guessing it's not listed at all. My real concern is why has it been on the market 8 years? You better take a good hard look at that, and you better make sure you look at the ARV real close. And obviously I'd come in much less than his asking price, even on terms, if it's been listed so long. Now, I don't know anything about the house. I don't know what area it's in, so I have very little go on here. But this all needs to be looked at. And big reason, why hasn't it been sold? Is it the seller or is it the house? Has he got it grossly overpriced, or is it out in the wilderness somewhere where I need a Jeep to get to it? I don't know anything about it. Now, as far as your exit strategy goes, if you get terms, you can always give terms, but renting it to many families is not going to work, not on a single family house, no way. But maybe you could do Airbnb on it though. It might be a very good Airbnb candidate, because Airbnb is nothing more than letting them choose between your home or a hotel. Now, of course, that means you'd have to furnish it. And if I don't know if the house is dividable or not, I don't know anything about it, but honestly, I would probably play the market looking for a valid tenant buyer who can cash me out later and let me make a ton of money on it before I put it on Airbnb. Because sooner or later, your seller is going to want to be cashed out. And by the way, you can't do Airbnb without letting the seller know what you're doing as well. So there's a plus side and a downside. If you do Airbnb, your income is going to be huge. And if you do it properly, you'll keep it rented most of the time, because it's really, do I want to come rent a hotel room in Atlanta, or do I want to move into this house that's furnished for very little more per night? Anyway, I'd need a lot more information to be able to give you a real thorough answer.
And next is from, we have Bennett from Texas.
Bennett?
If you get a foreclosure home or REO home under contract through a realtor, can you flip the contract under your real name or LLC, or either?
You never want to put your real name on a contract anyway, and the fact that you have it under contract with a realtor, even in your entity's name, it's, sure you can flip it. That's in fact what most flips are. They put them under contract. If they're listed, they're through a realtor, and they just flip them and find another buyer. Now, I would not suggest you let your realtor know that you don't have the money to close it. I can tell you that, because if you do, that relationship's going to end quickly. So you just go find the buyer, and once the buyer is found and it's set up for closing, your realtor could care less where the money's coming from.
All right, and lastly, we have Roy in North Carolina.
Roy.
In my area of North Carolina, most attorneys run and do not want to do a land contract closing. One attorney, I asked why not, and he said it's not good for the seller. I said I'm the seller. Then he just said he wouldn't get involved. I've tried several, but nothing.
Stop. You tried the wrong attorneys. And I don't even know if land contract works in North Carolina. I don't know if that's the proper title of it. But any attorney that wants to give you a hard time about closing, here's what you ask the attorney. First, are you a real estate closing attorney? And if the answer is no, move on. You're wasting your breath. Second, I buy houses subject to. Sometimes I buy them with owner financing, and occasionally I lease purchase them, and I usually install lease purchase tenant buyers in them. Is that going to be a problem for you? If the answer is yes, move on. If the answer is, if the answer is yes, move on. If the answer is no, we do it all the time, you've probably found your guy. There's plenty of attorneys in North Carolina that will close real estate transactions. Go to Google and type in real estate closing attorney, and here come a list of them. You just get a hold of them and ask those questions. You'll find one very quickly. Now, of course, you could start by asking other investors who they use, because they weeded out the user-friendly ones, and ask realtors who they like that are investor-friendly. It won't take you long to find a good attorney. You could also, when you're talking to an attorney, if he's not your guy, then you have him refer you to someone else you should talk to. Won't take you long. Because you talk to 3 of them does not impress me.
All right, and those are all of our questions for this week.
That's all?
That's all.
Well, gosh, you guys didn't even test my brain today. Those were easy questions. All right, well, we'll see you next week. The year is moving on already. Here we are, into January already into February. So what are you going to do in 2018? Might start by joining us at the summit in a couple of weeks. Big mistake if you don't make it there. Big mistake. Bring plenty of leads. We're going to have a lead generating, profit deal generating machine down there. And you still got time to get in. So go register at RES 2018, and we'll see you in 2 weeks in sunny Florida. Perfect weather guaranteed. See you soon.